So when's the best time to ask for a referral?
After you close the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're happy.
I was going to say.
And they're happy with it. Yeah. You've delivered the service or you've delivered the product, they're happy with it. That's when, well, you close the deal. That's right. In my mind, you've closed it because you've delivered it satisfactorily.
Yeah.
That's the time.
My mentor.
Yeah. If you look on 2.8, there's the design for asking for referrals here. Exactly as you said. They've got a satisfied client, product or service has been delivered, happy with it. That's the timing. All right. They may or may not be a champion at this point, but you're more likely to get referrals from champions than non-champions. So you're reminding them here, when you're open, you're reminding them of their objective. They had something in mind they wanted you to do. You did it. And you remind them of that. Right? So that recaps the benefit, the advantage you brought to the business. Okay, now you've got, it might be internal, it might be within that organisation, because often multiple divisions operate in silos.
Yeah.
So you're talking to the IT division, but the marketing division has an issue. But you're not talking to the marketing division, you're talking to the IT division. And you may not even know they've got a similar issue, but they may have. So you're looking for what other departments could benefit from X, Y, Z. This has been helpful. You've told me that. This is a problem that's rather common in many companies in different silo divisions. Can you think of any other divisions which would probably have a similar issue? Oh yeah, definitely marketing. Oh, those guys, really need a lot of work. Bingo, right? That's what you're looking for. So it might be the division or another part of the company, which is often the case, or it might be another company completely. Maybe someone in business that they know. What's the worst question you can ask for a referral with? What's the worst question? Guaranteed to take you nowhere question when asking for referrals.
Any of your competitors could benefit from this?
Well, that's a pretty hopeless question too. Please let me help your competitors do better. But what's the worst question? Very typical worst question. If you're asking this one yourself, you may recognise it. Do you know anyone who could benefit from this? X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Do you know anyone who could benefit from this service or this product? Why is that a terrible, terrible question? What's wrong with that?
Is it specific and is disparate?
Well, it's too big. When you say, do you know anyone, who do they now have to picture?
Their friends, their family.
Everybody, right? It's too big. Your brain cannot picture everybody. We need to isolate it down. So it might be, do you know anyone else inside the company, maybe another department, one of the department heads who might like to have a conversation to see if we can address an issue they may have that's similar to the one that you've had. So who do they see in their mind's eye now? How many people do you think they see? Depends how many departments, but most organisations won't have like 20 departments. They're going to have like 5 or maybe max 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now they've got in their mind's eye faces. They've got 6, 7, 8 faces. And from one of those faces they'll make a selection. So you've narrowed it down. Or if you're talking about another company, amongst your circle of contacts here in Tokyo, I'm sure you've got many friends running businesses here who are probably facing the same dilemma that we discussed in relation to your own company, and we've solved that for you, as you just told me. Do you think that any of your friends would have a similar issue that they would be very, very happy to solve in the same way we've solved it for you? Who are they seeing now? Again, a reduced number of faces in their mind's eye. That's how you want to ask for referrals. Narrow it down, narrow gauge. They have to see the faces in their mind's eye. They've got to picture those faces and make a selection from within those faces that way. you will get an answer. Otherwise, say, do you know anyone? You just kill people, right? No, I can't think of anyone. Because there's too many people to think of. So you've got to bring it right down. So on page 2.9, you see here we've got design an opening, make the request, and then the closing here, you see the closing, would you mind calling them to let them know I'm going to contact them? So they've nominated a person, they've nominated a company, someone within their own company or external, and you ask them to set it up for you. Why would that be good? So I just give you a name, Bob Smith, and now I've got to ring Bob Smith. Boss has never heard of me. What would be better? If the champion rang Bob Smith and said, hey, Craig Story is going to give you a call. Right? That smooths the path, doesn't it?
Would it be okay to ask for an email?
Email will be fine. Phone call will be better, email will be fine. And we shouldn't be shy about asking for it either. Would you mind dropping Bob an email just to let him know that I'm going to be in touch? Yeah, happy to do that. Or would you mind giving Bob a call, then I'm going to give him a call later this week? Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. If they're a champion and they're with you, then they're satisfied, they'll do it. If they're not satisfied, well, you're not going to any referrals, you're probably going to have more business. So that's the first part, you've got to satisfy your client. Right, so let's spend a bit of time now. Design how you're going to open that conversation up. You've just delivered the service, you've just delivered the product. They are happy. They've told you they're happy. You've asked, they've said, yeah, this has been great. Been the best ever. This has been fantastic. So how are we going to go into the opening? Ask for the referral, then how are we going to close it out and set up the next step? With referrals, there's a flow to this. You start with reconnecting to the specific benefit the client got from your product or service. You ask them, happy with the service or product, get them to say yes. So you re-establish in their mind that you provided value as a trusted partner with them. Then you can move into the request itself. Now, it could be B2B, it could be B2C. It doesn't really make that much difference in terms of the flow. In the case of the B2B, you're looking at others who had a similar situation to them. You're looking around for someone they know who may have the same issue. It might be someone within their own organisation, another department, another division, someone that probably struggling with the same issues. Or it could be someone outside that company. It could be someone in their circle of business contacts. At the end, you then ask for the introduction. So having ascertained that there is someone either in the same company or outside the company with a similar need, then you talk about not what you want, talk about how you can help to fix that need solution. So you might say something like, well, that's very interesting. You mentioned the marketing department has a very similar need. I can imagine that, like you, if they could fix that problem, they'd be very happy. It would really help their business. Would that be the case? They say yes. So what would be probably the way forward here? I don't know anybody in marketing. Would you be able to put me in touch with a key person there that I could talk with? What would be really great is maybe you could mention to them that I'm going to be contacting them, that we've been working together, I'm going to contact them, and then try and set up an appointment. Would that be something that you'd be able to do for me, or able to do to further the success of that particular part of the business? So if the relationship is there, the trust is there, then they're happy. They're happy to help because they know you can provide value for that other part of the company. And they're happy to help you because you provided value for them. So then they say, yes, I could do that. So it might be a phone call or it might be an email, it doesn't matter. What you're trying to ascertain is when they're going to do that to make it concrete. So if you just let me know when you're likely to make that call or send the email, then I will follow up after that. When do you think you'd be likely to be in touch with them? Oh, I see, this afternoon. Well, I'll give them a call tomorrow. And then away you go. So there's the flow. Reconnect with the good works you've done for them. Try and find those faces in their mind's eye that they can concentrate on, who've got a similar problem that they've had that you've solved. Suggest that you would like to help that person solve their problem and ask them to make the introduction. And then away you go. You are free to make the next connection with that company, either outside or department or division inside the company. On page 2.9, you have the worksheet here. So you look at designing the opening, remind them of the good work you've done, work on that referral request, and then close it out, get the name, get the contact, get the permission to follow up. So let's spend some time now designing that. Think of a client you already have, where you have a good relationship, you've done good work, and now you're going to try and help yourself by helping their contact, okay, and design that accordingly. Well, there's the first question. All good? Okay, let's go to it. Next section, we're going to deal with the pre-approach before we have the contact with the client. Now, we can actually pick up a lot of information today about companies and what they're doing compared to in the past. So you've got their website will have a lot of information about who they are, what they're doing, the types of products or services they provide. It's all going to be there. You can get a very quick idea of what that company's main business is and possibly start to guess where some of the issues might be. It might be doing an internet search on any press releases that they've had released recently, or any stories in the media about them, or reports on them that again are going to be available, or their own stuff, white papers, etc. they're putting out. Annual reports. Annual reports are fantastic. In an annual report, what do we see there? We see the president talking about the strategy of the company. The president is trying to convince shareholders and to add more stock or to keep the stock, raise the price of the stock. So they want to be very positive about giving clear direction on where the company's going. They're also fantastic on talking about new initiatives that they're launching and how they're going to grow the business. So from the annual reports, you can pick up a lot of information about where the emphasis is in that company, and behind that emphasis, that's where the budgets are going to be as well. And champions, if you've got someone who's a champion in one particular industry, well, they may know quite a lot about other companies in that same industry, or they may know maybe a different industry, but they may know the person that you want to make contact with, or the company you want to make contact with. They may be able to provide you with some insight into what they know about that particular situation. Colleagues, of course, people who've worked in different businesses, they have contacts, they have experience. That can also be very helpful to try and pull together some idea about the target company and the sorts of issues they might be facing. Because if we can identify those issues, then we've got to have a very much more intelligent conversation than if we're just swimming around guessing what their likely problem might be. And then finally, social media. Again, there'll be a lot of detail out there around that particular company. People are on Facebook, on LinkedIn, there's Twitter. There's a lot of feed out there around activity. So we can tap into all of that and give us a very good snapshot before we even begin to start to talk to that company. So on page 2.11, you see there, we're looking for some key information about the person you're going to meet, the company, the industry itself. You're going to have a particular call objective. It's probably going to be get the appointment, right? Some issues that represent selling opportunities. If we can find out their pain point, if we can find out an issue about them before we meet them, then that's going to help us to zero in on where we can be of assistance. And then common ground or contacts that might be helpful. If you don't have a referral to this company from someone they know, but you have someone that they are aware of who's known to you, you can refer to that person. You can say something like, I was talking to Mark at XYZ company, and he mentioned that your company is growing very, very rapidly, and that there might be an opportunity to help you with that growth, to make sure that the growth is kept very smooth, and also that the rapid expansion doesn't outstrip, say, for example, leadership development within the company, or whatever it might be. And then you decide how you're going to open it up, how you'll open up that conversation. And then, again, looking for resources can add insight. If you just come with your lineup of products and services, that's what everybody does in sales. We should be trying to come in there with insights, some extra information that we picked up around that industry, about that sector, about that niche, about competitors, or about something that's relevant to them. Might be a global survey, might be a regional survey, something we can share and bring to the table that gives them insight, leads them to learn something that they didn't know about their own business or their own industry. If you can do that, you are providing a great service to that company. So these are the things that we're looking for when we're looking for resources. So that's on page 2.11. Let's get that pre-planning down and work on that worksheet. So here's the first question. All good? Okay, let's go again. So a lot of issues are going to be common to many companies, right? No company believes they have enough market share. No one believes that. They all want more market share. That's a very common thing across all companies. All companies want more clients. There's very few companies say, actually we're maxed out, we can't take any more clients. That does happen, but it's pretty rare, you know. They're all looking for more. So again, more business, more clients. So now we move on to the actual appointment, ringing for the appointment. Okay, done your pre-appointment research, got an idea about the key issue, likely key issue for that client. So we're getting into the reason for contacting, right? So who you are, who you represent in this example. Now we're getting into the reason for contacting. So would you like to meet these decision makers? We've done good work for people who've got a similar business problem that you may have. Then we give what we've done, okay, how you've got a particular approach, which is again maybe tapping into that database. And then we're looking for a time to get together. Now, in this example, they've selected one day and one time. I prefer to go for an alternative choice this week, next week, Monday, Thursday, morning, afternoon, because you delete the no. It's either one or the other. So they're always giving you a positive response. Try to delete the positive. Like if I say, how about Wednesday, 1:30, they say no. I don't want to hear no. I want to hear yes. I want to hear this week or next week. Next week's better. Next week. Would early in the week say Monday or late in the week say Thursday? Actually, late in the week, Thursday. Great. Which is better, morning or afternoon? Actually, afternoon's better. Well, how about 3? By that stage, we're getting down to pretty finite time. Can't do 3, how about 4? Yeah, okay. That sounds great, blah, blah, blah. So you're trying to eliminate down to a particular time. So I would always go for alternative choice rather than just putting up one solution. Right? So we're going to start with, and we're actually going to design this on the next page, 2.13. So you start with who you are, then you go into the reason for the call, a brief statement on how you're doing that, and then go in for the alternative choice, ask for a time. Got the idea? That's for 2.13. Any questions? All good? We practiced this before, so this should come reasonably easily. But let's go again. Okay, let's set that up. The longer you make the explanation, the further you are away from getting the appointment. So you've got to have it very, very much concise, compact, cut down, so you get to the key point. Here's who I am, here's what we do, here's an example of how we've done it. Maybe we could do the same thing for you, let's find out, let's meet. That part shouldn't take very long. When you start rambling, they're starting to think about their time, they get distracted, all reasons they don't want to meet you start to come up. Try and avoid that. Just go straight into very thin, honed down content. Right? That's it. Next one, we're going to look at misconceptions. Now, you know, misperceptions as well. And I think you told me before that sometimes there might be an inaccurate picture of the organisation. That can happen. Like Dale Carnegie, for example, is often thought of as a public speaking only training company. We do that, yes we do. We're very famous for it, yes we are. But we do a lot more than that. So often people put you in a very limited frame. I had one client, met them yesterday. I'd met the contact person last year, and maybe 9 months ago, they didn't consider us for training because they thought we only taught Dale Carnegie stuff in a certain fashion. They didn't realise we did a lot of customisation. They didn't realise we build a lot of training. They just never imagined that. They thought it was only what we had. So there's a misperception that was actually preventing them from doing business with us. But we managed to have another meeting. When I explained that, they were like, oh. So misperceptions can kill you. Can absolutely kill you. So how about some misperceptions about your business? You know, misperceptions, we noted that some are hopeless. Ignore those. Some are trivial. Ignore those. Where it is a misconception, you might want to correct that. If it's a put-off, you may choose or may not choose to take it up. You may just think, well, I'm wasting my time here. They're just trying to get rid of me. Then, okay, I'll come back and fight this one another day. If it's prejudiced, you might want to correct that because you don't want incorrect information about yourself or your company or your product or solution floating around the marketplace. If it's genuine, then you definitely want to relate to that. So we have the worksheet there. You're asking, testing, what is the perception they have? We go into a neutral statement. Yes, from time to time we hear that. May I ask why you have that perception? This is just giving you a chance to dig a bit deeper. What's behind that perception? Maybe based on completely incorrect information. Maybe entirely wrong. And you can correct that very easily. Then the redirect, we agree with it, even if it's only partially, and then we talk up the company, or we might disagree with it, and then we talk up our solution, or we go straight into the USP. Now, we might also do feel, felt, found. Right? When they put up that misconception or misperception, you might say, well, I can understand how you feel about that. Others have felt the same way. However, what they have found when they work with us was burn, burn, burn. So that's an alternative to agree, disagree, and use the USP. Use that feel, felt, found formula, where the found is the solution. And then finally expand. You give the little bit broader picture of what your solution organisation does to try and get around that perception. So you've designed that. Now, in partners, practice it. All right. Tell them what the misperception is. Okay. They'll give it to you, and then you deal with it. Got the idea? They'll feed you what the misperception is, and then you handle it. Okay? All good? See the first question? We're all good? Okay, in pairs, let's try it. Just make a quick point here. This is a flow. All right? You start here, you start here, and you work your way through it. So first of all, you test, is there any resistance through misperceptions? Neutral statement to ask them, well, why do you think that? Then you either agree with it, disagree with it, or just replace it with a strong USP selling point. Or you might use feel, felt, found. Then you finish it off with giving them more information about the services that you provide. So what they hear is they've got a misperception, you've dealt with it, but you give them extra information as well, right, to try and appeal to other aspects of doing business with them. Okay, so let's hear yours. So on 2.17, 2.18. This would probably be on the phone, okay? On the phone, or it could be in person, but it's probably on the phone because you're trying to decide whether this person is a match for you to go and see them. All right, so you might want to explore a little bit deeper. So first of all, you've got them to agree to seeing you. That's good. So before, having gone through the process of getting the date and time fixed, after that, then you might say something like, that's great, thank you for agreeing to see me. Just to make sure we're actually going to be a good fit here, may I ask you a couple of questions? Easy. Yeah. Not going to take long, right? Then, what's the need? From my research, or from what I've heard, or what you've told me, or looking at your website, or looking at your annual report, or whatever it might be, I see that you're doing something or other. Are you putting attention to that in this financial year? Something like that, right? So is the need there? Next one is the quantity, right? Is this a growing part of your business? Or is it fairly stable? And what's the quantity like? And then budget. Is the company putting resources behind this initiative, particularly financial resources? That's another way of asking, are they budgeting at the moment? Is there money there? And finally, authority question. In my experience in many companies, there are often a lot of stakeholders in big projects and initiatives, and therefore the decision-making process sometimes can be quite complex. I'm not sure about the case in your company, but when we have this discussion, is there anybody else amongst the decision-making group who you think would be useful to invite to the meeting to sort of speed things along? You can ask it like that, right? So you're looking for who's the other decision-maker that need to be brought in. And you like that. If you've got, example I gave yesterday, the client was the first business meeting. The first meeting showing what we do, got the first concrete meeting about the detail. In email, maybe the senior decision maker may not be there. Actually came. That was a good sign. They actually made the meeting. The two key people were there. That's a very good sign. And even though one person led the meeting, most of the questions were answered by that one person, the other person was there, but heard what we said. So getting that second person in the meeting room comes back to that collective decision making in Japan, that collaborative decision making. It's useful to have other people in the room. So this is a very good question. So in that breakdown, you're going through the permission to ask a few more questions, isolating out what you think their need is, looking at is there a demand for activity, quantity at the moment, is there money behind that, and are there any other decision makers? If they tell you there's no money to do whatever it is, then you might wonder why it's worthwhile even meeting them, and you may decide not to meet them because there's no point. Right? But you've got to have some reason to meet. It's going to be a business outcome. But it's good to know those questions before you get there, or you may choose not to meet them. It sounds like your budget is next year, not in this cycle. Therefore, may I suggest, why don't we delay this meeting a little bit? When do you normally do your budgeting planning for the next financial year? Or is your financial year from April? Oh yeah, so when would you do your planning? Around October. Well, let's hold it for a minute and let me come back in October and see if we can get into the next budgeting cycle, seeing we've missed this one. You hear how that goes? Hear how that works? Okay. All right. So, on 2.18, here you've got a chance to do some planning. What's a permission question? What's the need question? Quantity, budget, authority. So try need, quantity, budget, and authority. That's on 2.18. So choose need, quantity, budget, authority, and come up with a question format for that. These again might be very broad-based question formats you design that you can then tailor a little bit according to that particular client. Could be broad, then you take it very, very narrow. That's possible. In a moment, we're going to practice this with the phone calls. So we're going to ring them up. We're going to go through our appointment setting agenda we went through before. And after we get to the day and the time locked down, then we're going to go into this and tack it on the end. Got the idea? So we put the whole thing together. All right, so go through you've got your appointment phase there. That's on, it was back on 2.13. Remember you designed that? So 2.13, you designed that. And now, you're going to add 2.18, okay, with your different qualifying questions. Now, you may not ask all those questions, right? You might ask some of them. This could be the meeting, could also be on the phone. This could be both. So the point here is, you've actually got the appointment made. While you've got them on the phone, you just hit them with a couple of extra questions, which is these qualifying questions. So, as you see, thanks for agreeing to meet me. To see if we might be a good fit, can I ask you a few questions? So you're setting it up, and then you ask some of these questions.
Right, or maybe you could say to better prepare for our meeting. To
Yes.
ask you
Yes,
just
exactly.
a couple of quick questions.
Perfect. Yeah, it'd be a better preparation for the meeting. So I'm coming with the right information. May I just ask you a few more questions? Got the idea? All right. So in our pairs again, start from make the phone call and take it all the way through. So you're combining the appointment phase with the qualifying questions. Everyone clear on that? You all good on that? Let's try that. So how did you find combining that power appointment flow with this flow? Did it work in smoothly for you?
I think, yeah, but
So the object here is, and I thought that actually your characterization of it, of preparing for the meeting, was a very good way of explaining the questioning. I think it's better than what's in the manual. I think saying, thank you very much for agreeing to meet with you. Just so I can really prep properly for the meeting, may I ask a few additional questions before we meet? Yeah, and then go into that series, wrap it out, look forward to seeing you next week, finish it. Right. So do we have any questions on what we've covered so far today? If they have to hit big numbers next year, not this year, there's not a great deal perhaps drive there in terms of getting the revenue numbers up. Maybe they're comfortable with the revenue number achievement this year, and they're happy to invest money next year, not now. So is there is it usage? Is it consumption? What is it that they're actually doing around quantity to actually create some desire to engage in what you're doing? Right? Do they, as you say, if they have to move a lot of widgets in this year, is there something driving it? For example, if we think about, you might say that we think about last year's financial targets and this year's financial targets, are you looking at a substantial growth in your targets? Oh, you can't believe it, it's 25%. I don't know how we're going to do 25%. Well, there's your quantity. They've got to go up 25% in revenue terms. That's very key information, because you're going to be a solution to help them take it up 25%, part of the solution. Got the idea? That's what you need to be looking at, how you can help them with your solution for their particular thing they need to do. Any other questions? 2.19. Let's think about some ideas you've taken away from today. Application to your sales over the next couple of weeks, and how you're going to apply it. Let's hear what you're going to do with this information. Right? So we sort of started with champion, referrals. We did the pre-approach planning. We did the appointment asking. We dealt with misperceptions. Then we dealt with qualifying questions to prep ourselves for the meeting, and basically covered all of that off today. So in that group, where do you think you could find some things that you can use? You don't know that until you dig in a little bit. So that one about asking if there's anybody else in the organisation who is going to be central to making this work, and having them attend the meeting is a great question. Right. Oh yeah, but they can't come. Then you may not actually get anywhere in that particular meeting and know that you actually got to get to that person and have a meeting with them included. So you may have to go through it anyway, but well, my expectations for this meeting are limited, because now I know I need to get here to actually make it happen. Any questions about anything we've covered today? All good?